Hey everybody, I'm coming to you all this morning. It is Tuesday, September the 16th, 2015. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I work so much. And in fact, I'm up in my attic right now, taking a break from doing some work. But I had to take a break to say this. We are in trouble. As a people, as a culture of people, we are in trouble. As a world, we are in trouble. But my focus and my message today is to us within the African American community. We are in trouble. So many of our people today are broken. And if they're not broken, they're on the brink of being broken. We can look for all kinds of excuses and reasons as to why we find ourselves in the condition in which we are. I have lived 54 years and I have never seen our people and the state in which we find ourselves in now. I often say that we are living in a state of emergency. And we can't wait for anybody else to come and rescue us from the state that we're in. People say, how can we then make things better for us as a people? And I say the only way to do that is we as the people must make the decision that we're going to do what's necessary to make things right for ourselves and amongst ourselves. You see, we can arguably say that it's still white America's fault that we are in the condition that we are in as a people. And I could arguably say that it may be partly true, but the majority of the reason as to why we find ourselves in the condition in which we're in is due to no one else's fault but our own. Yeah, you may say that, well, they're stopping us from doing this, they're stopping us from doing that, but I can also say that we are also stopping ourselves. We're stopping ourselves from getting a better education. We're stopping ourselves from becoming business owners. We're stopping ourselves from moving up out of the communities in which we're in that we may not particularly want to be in. We are stopping ourselves. Are we being hindered by others, outside forces? Sometimes, yes. But right now, people, if we're honest with ourselves, we will admit that our biggest hindrance right now in 2015 is us. Every day you turn around and you turn the news on, there's news about someone being shot. And let's talk about that for a moment. I live in Rochester, New York, and Rochester, New York, year after year keeps making the list of the most violent cities in the state of New York. And we're not that big of a city. But for example, just last month, we had a mass shooting of 7 individuals, young people. 3 of them died. 4 of them ended up in the hospital. And then last Monday, we just had another mass shooting of 6 people. 2 of them died. One's in critical condition with the possibility of being paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of her life. You got Chicago. Chicago just this past Labor Day weekend. 49 shootings. 8 of them died. 9, one was a stabbing. They died. And it's safe to say that the majority of those people are us. The ones that got shot here in Rochester, they were all us. So this is thus why I say we are living in a state of an emergency. We have gotten to a stage in our lives where so many of us just don't care. But yet we verbally say that we do, but our actions show that we don't. We use excuses as to why we don't get involved with things as afraid of retaliation. We're afraid they're going to kill my family. We're afraid they're going to kill us. We go by the no snitching code as though it's a badge of honor, which in fact snitching only came about as a discouragement tool to stop someone from saying what they know happened, to discourage them from coming forward. I'm telling you, people, we are in trouble. All over the country where there are people of color, we seem to be waging war against our own people. We talk about how bad the government treats us. We talk about police brutality on a regular basis. They both exist. There's no denying that. But what's even more important to me as a man of color is that we talk about the main issue that's hindering us as a people, that's oftentimes that's stopping us completely from moving forward in our lives. And my friends, whether we're willing to admit it or not, we're stopping each other. Ask you this question. Why don't we have many more Afro-American owned businesses? Not just corner stores, not just cell phone places, not just the typical business on the corner. And the reason is because we don't support one another. We hear that argument over and over again that we don't support each other. And it's true. Because if we, in fact, were willing to support one another, we would have Fortune 500 companies. We would have our own grocery stores, not just corner stores. We would have our own movie theaters, not just one or two people owning movie theaters. We would have our own doctor offices. We would have our own schools. We would go back to where it was when it used to be Black Wall Street, when we owned the majority of the things. Matter of fact, no, we owned everything within our communities. And we created jobs within our communities, so we didn't have as many poor people in that community because we employed them. And the money circulated 100 times before it went back out of our own community, so we were able to thrive. But so many of us today are so envious and jealous of one another that we're not willing to help the next man or woman to start their business, to help them build their dream, because we're so afraid of them getting ahead of us and leaving us behind. We've got to do better than what we're doing. We've got to do it. We are living in a state of emergency where we're experiencing high levels of poverty, illiteracy. In Rochester, New York, right now, our state or our city is number 7 on the where we have the most hungry children in the country. And that's sad. We have some of the highest cases of HIV and AIDS in the country. We have so many Afro-American males, the highest rate for the last few years, that are not graduating high school. And some could arguably say, well, they're not being taught. They're not making it exciting for them to want to learn. How much more excitement do you need? You have an opportunity to do something that is free, which is get your education. But so many of them choose not to. I work in this system. I see it every day. Our young males and young girls are choosing to walk the street all day opposed to going to school. They get off the bus 4 stops from the school and head back the opposite direction. See, there's no one really failing us but us. You have an opportunity to learn. You have an opportunity to create a better life for yourself. You have an opportunity to do so much more than what you're doing. We all do. But in order for us to be able to do more, we've got to be willing to help the next person so that they can do more. And then that person can turn around and help the next person. And we seem to struggle with that as a people. My heart is always heavy when I look at us. All of us are not like this, but those who are, they're destroying the very fiber, the fabric of who we are as a people. Just the other day, I was sitting before I had to go back to one of my jobs, and I noticed a group of young people gathering. And when I looked around after 10 or 15 minutes through my rearview mirror, they were fighting in the middle of the street. Kids start coming from every direction to circle them so that they can fight. This is entertaining now. Then later on that day, I go back for one of my other jobs, and I head down almost the same direction. Now there's 15, 20 police cars and hundreds of students standing outside the school. We don't see anything wrong with this. This has become the norm. I don't know about you, but I myself, personally being a man of color, I am so tired of seeing the same things over and over and over again. It's time for us to wake up, people. How can we make things better if we don't come together? This struggle is not just our own individual struggle, even though we do have our own individual struggles, but the struggle itself is all of our struggle. And we must come together and be willing to help each other through this struggle. We don't have to be in the position or the condition that we are in as a people. We can get ourselves out of it. We can help others get out of it, whatever condition that they may find themselves in. There's always a way out if a person wants to get out. It's time to stop making excuses and allowances for bad behavior, all the violence, unnecessary violence. We're destroying our people at rapid and record numbers. Nobody's doing this but us. We can continue to blame quote unquote white America. We continue to blame the government on committing genocide among our people. But the truth be known, we're doing more damage to ourselves than they could ever do to us. They're not creeping in our neighborhoods and shooting us down as though we're animals and dogs in the street left to die. They're not breaking in our homes and taking the little bit that we have. We're doing that to one another. We're not fighting, or they're not coming into our neighborhoods and fighting us in the streets. We're doing it. We are our biggest problem. Always has been and always will be, unless we decide that we're going to come together and put an end to this unnecessary foolishness. You see, we become people that has become so filled with hopelessness, filled with envy and strife for the next man, the next woman. Continue to be filled with jealousy. And some of us even hate ourselves and hate those who look like us. You see, the solution to solving the problem that we find ourselves in, the condition that we find ourselves in as a people, is called love. It's a simple thing. You see, we got to get to where we love ourselves individually. And then we've got to get back to a people who love one another collectively. You see, because it's the love that's going to carry us to the place where we're meant to be, where we were created to be. It's the love that's going to cause us to become the people that God created us to be. We're going to be faced with many challenges in life, as with any other culture of people. But we as a culture, people seem to struggle more than any other culture. And we still want to take that and blame it, our conditions and situations, on everyone else outside of ourselves. Come on, people. We've got to do better than what we're doing. We can do better than what we're doing. We've got to look at ourselves each day when we wake up. And we've got to say to ourselves, I love myself so much that I will not bring harm to my brother or my sister. I love myself so much that I will help my brother up when he falls, opposed to stepping on him or either walking over him. I love myself so much that when my brother is down, I extend a hand to him to lift him up instead of extending my hands out to him to push him down. We've got to love ourselves so much that when we see our brothers and sisters and their children and their wives hungry, that we take it upon ourselves to help feed them, to help clothe them. We've got to love ourselves so much that when we see our brothers and our sisters hurting, that we be someone that would come to them and comfort them and give them advice, or either to just be a listening ear. We've got to love ourselves so much that we get to the point and the stage within ourselves that we realize that I am my brother's keeper. It doesn't mean that we have to take care of them 100%, but being your brother's keeper means that you must assist him or her when they're in need. And you may say to yourself, well, I don't have enough myself to help anybody else. But it doesn't matter how much you have. You've got to be willing to help out the little that you do have. And that, my brothers and sisters, can go very far. We've got to get to the place in life where we love ourselves so much that we stop making excuses on why we're not doing this, why we're not doing that, or why we can't do this, or why we can't do this or that. People, this thing is all about us. No one could come in and uplift us up out of these conditions, and we shouldn't expect for them to. We should be able to live in a community where we can walk the streets freely and not have to worry about looking over our shoulder because someone is shooting, or we may get robbed, or we may get beat down by a crowd of people that look like us for no apparent reason. We've got to get out amongst our communities and start talking about peace and spreading love and joy and getting out there and teaching our young people, not just young people, but our people in general, how to believe again. We got to do more than what we're doing, because what we're doing right now is not working. We have the power within us to change our present conditions, our situations, our environment. I always say, if we don't like where we are now, move. We can move ourselves to a better neighborhood. We can move ourselves mentally and spiritually to a better place within ourselves, which then causes us to look at the world in a much better light, a more positive light. You see, we can no longer continue to blame poverty and illiteracy for our present condition. Is it a factor? Yes. But we cannot continue to allow the blame to continue to rest there. A people will never rise up until they decide to pick themselves up. America has stepped on us for so long. And we should be at a point where we're tired of being stepped upon. And it's sad to say that now we're stepping on each other, and have been doing for so long. But we've got to make the decision at some point that we're going to take our foot off of one another's back, that we're going to take the shackles and chains off of poverty, off of illiteracy, off of jealousy, off of hatred. We've got to decide to free ourselves. Because right now, people, we are nothing more than slaves within our own communities. We have enslaved ourselves, and we've got to free ourselves. I love us, and I'm always attempting to say something positive or do something positive to lift somebody else up, just more than just myself. I'm going to leave with this note. I want us to understand this as a people. This is all about us. Let's stop placing the blame on anyone else outside our culture. We cannot do this any longer, because the longer we continue to make excuses, the longer our conditions and situations will continue to worsen. Let's recognize where we are as a people now. And let's come together and decide to do something about it. Let's stop waiting on America. Let's stop waiting on the government to fix something that they cannot fix, and that won't fix it if they could. This is up to us as a culture of people. We must fix what has been broken. For oftentimes what has been broken by us. We have to rebuild us from the inside out. And then once we have done that, we can begin to rebuild our communities. We've got to buy back our communities. Come together and put our monies together so that when we see dilapidated homes, that we can put our forces, our monies together and rebuild. And then all of us can become business owners in a sense. We could all take a stake in saying that we did this. We can have pride in knowing that no outside sources came in and did this but us. We have the power to become better people, better individuals, a better culture of people. We just got to recognize that we have it, and we've got to be willing to do something about it. Let's come together, people. Let's stop the killing. Let's end the high degrees of illiteracy. Let's start talking more about love and peace. And let's come up with solutions on how we can make things better for us as a culture of people. And let's stop blaming everyone else for what is wrong. And let's begin coming together to work on making it right. I love everyone, no matter where you come from, no matter what condition you may be in now. I want you to know this. Your life can change. Your life can be more than what it is. Or your life can remain the same. Or can begin to get worse than what it is now. It all begins with you. And it all ends with you. I love you. Ciao. And I hope somebody likes this video enough that they pass it along to somebody else who may need to hear this. It's a long video, I'm sure, but that's okay. Sometimes we need to talk about things in depth instead of always rushing. God is love. He's put it in you. He's put it in me. Now we've got to be willing to spread that love among our people so that we can grow as a people. We don't have to remain where we are, people. We can move ourselves and uproot ourselves to better places. But in order to do that, we got to change the condition of our minds before we can change the conditions of our environment. Love you all. Peace and ciao. And I hope you pass this, like I said, this video along to someone else. And I'll be making another one soon. If you guys want me to come and speak, you can reach me at alfonsohilliard@gmail.com, 21@gmail.com, or you can reach me at alfonsohilliard@yahoo. Once again, my email address is alfonsohilliard21@gmail.com. and Yahoo, Alfonso Hilliard at Yahoo. I hope to hear from you. We need to begin to get ourselves out there, people, and do more so that we can become more and become the best that we can be.